very best. But just to talk about insurance, that's a business that you head for Berkshire Hathaway. India is one of the third largest economies in Asia. It's a market where insurance reforms are waiting to happen. The FDI cap is still at 26%. Given that entire scenario, how would you see Berkshire Hathaway's presence here? Will you be expanding, or would you want to wait for government reforms to happen in this sector?
Well, all of the above. As you observed, this is the third largest market in Asia today, and in the next 5 years, I won't be surprised if it's the third largest market in the world. So, we would really like to have a major presence here. Much will depend on the regulatory laws and the caps on foreign investment. And we have now taken one small step, which I'm very conscious of is long overdue. But we hope it serves as a platform and as a springboard for us to get involved in this space in a much bigger way as time goes on.
How many more years before one actually sees Berkshire Hathaway become underwriters in India and not just remain an agency?
I wish I could give you an answer to that question. Much will depend on the government's rules and when they relax the caps on the foreign investment. Clearly, as long as insurance companies are limited to 26%, it's difficult for us to have a major presence on the underwriting side. Having said that, on the distribution side, we have started an operation, and right now it is focused on the motor insurance for the personal line segment. Over the next few months, we intend to broaden our product offering and offer some of the other personal line products in the non-life sector. It will give us a presence in terms of understanding the market, understanding the opportunities, understanding the players, and will allow us to be in a better state of readiness so that if and when the opportunities arise and we can get into the underwriting side of the business, we'd be ready to jump in and to build up a much broader operation here.
Right. Fair point. And one of my last few questions here, it is said that you are someone who takes risks that nobody else does, and which is where you really excel at your business. And this is an admission not just made by your colleagues, but your bosses as well. What is it that you think you bring to business or to your profession that perhaps your rivals do not?
Yeah. Again, it is absolutely right. We do take risks, and we take much larger risks than any of our competitors. But I think the reason and the ability we are in a position to take those risks are because of our balance sheet. We have a lot of excess capital in our insurance operations that allows us to absorb the volatility that is inherent in taking these large risks. And in addition to having a large balance sheet, we also have a board, and I have a boss who understands that risk-taking involves, once every now and then you'll end up taking a big loss. And instead of focusing on just the loss and for the quarter in which the loss occurred, they look at the results over some meaningful length of time, which allows us to have the flexibility to be able to write larger risk than some of our competitors.
It's just curious, and I know I'm pushing my time with you, but just this last question. You've been away for India for the last 40 years now. How much has the country really changed? You yourself a Delhi boy. We're doing this interview in Delhi. How much has the country changed from the time you left this country to now when you're coming back and as a part of this whole legendary visit of Warren Buffett?
Well, firstly, I wasn't a Delhi boy. I sort of was raised in the state of Orissa. And then I went to college in Bengal and worked in Bombay and before I went to the US. So my parents now are here, so to that extent.
And Warren Buffett would want a brother like you who would perhaps join him if at all your parents can provide him with one.
He is very kind. He is very kind. But, yes, India has changed a lot. And especially when I look back to when I was living here full time versus what India is all about today. The thing that I find most impressive is the gap in a technology sense between India and the Western world, which used to be enormous in the 70s and the 60s. That technological gap has been bridged almost completely. Whether you're talking about medical sciences or you're talking about phones or you're talking about computers or any particular field, that gap doesn't exist. And I remember as growing up here in the early 70s, even simple things like stainless steel blades you had to import from overseas. That's right. Trying to get it from overseas was such a big deal. So to that extent, India has changed very dramatically and has taken leaps and leaps and has leapfrogged and caught up with the Western world. The unfortunate thing is that a lot of the progress and the wealth that's been created at the top end of the pyramid hasn't really filtered down to people at the bottom end of the pyramid. And, while absolute standards may have improved for people at the bottom end of the pyramid, I think the people at the bottom end of the pyramid have a lot further to go.
That's right. And one last question. 25 years in Berkshire Hathaway, the thought of leaving it and doing something on your own has never crossed your mind?
No. When I joined Berkshire Hathaway, I won the lottery. I'm very grateful to the opportunity of being able to work for Berkshire. And 25 years, I've been so spoiled, I couldn't work anywhere else anymore.
3 words.